Have you ever had a doctor look you in the eyes and tell you that you're redying? I have. The sterile, white-walled office on Chicago's Magnificent Mile, the faint scent of antiseptic, the framed diplomas glinting under the fluorescent lights, it's all burned into my memory. Dr. Evans, with his sympathetic smile and gentle tone, delivered the verdict. A rare, aggressive form of pancreatic cancer. 6 months, he said. Maybe 8, with intensive treatment. My wife, Clara, squeezed my hand, her knuckles white, her face a perfect mask of devastation. Her tears looked so real. I held her, my world collapsing into a black hole of shock and terror, and I whispered that we would fight it together. I didn't know then that her hand in mine wasn't a gesture of support. It was the grip of a vulture. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The diagnosis was a death sentence, and it changed everything. Clara became my tireless caregiver, a saint in the eyes of our friends and family. She managed my appointments, my medications, my diet. You just rest. My love, she'd say, her voice dripping with a sweetness that now turns my stomach. I'll handle everything. And I, lost in a fog of pain and morphine, was pathetically grateful. The first crack in her perfect facade appeared on a Tuesday night. I was supposed to be asleep, knocked out by a new dose of painkillers, but the dose was lower than usual, and I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind a churning sea of fear. Around 2 a.m. I heard her whisper. She was in the living room, thinking I was unconscious. The words were faint, but the tone was unmistakably a low, intimate murmur, laced with a giddiness I hadn't heard from her in years. "He's asleep," she whispered into her phone. A pause, then a soft, breathy laugh. "Don't worry, he won't wake up." I made sure of it. My blood ran cold. Who was she talking to? And what did she mean? She made sure of it. The next morning, she was the doting wife again, fluffing my pillows and bringing me broth. But her eyes, they were different. There was a flicker of something hard and impatient behind the manufactured sympathy. I started watching. Her phone, once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now glued to her hip, always screen down. She'd take calls in the garage or out on the patio, her voice a hushed whisper. She started having girls' nights and errands that stretched for hours. When I'd ask, her answers were vague, and a cold annoyance would flash across her face. "Do you not trust me, Mark?" she'd ask, her voice sharp. "After everything I'm doing for you?" The manipulation was masterful. She was the long-suffering wife, and I was the ungrateful, dying husband. Our friends saw her as a martyr. They'd bring us casseroles and give her long, pitying hugs, telling her how strong she was. They had no idea. The breaking point came when I found a receipt from the Elysian Hotel downtown. It was for a Saturday afternoon, a day she'd supposedly spent at a spa retreat her friends had gifted her. But the receipt was for 2, and it included a $70 charge for a bottle of champagne from room service. My hands shook as I held the flimsy piece of paper. It was concrete. It was real. That night I didn't sleep at all. The man who had faced his own mortality with a shred of dignity was gone, and his place was a ghost, hollowed out by a betrayal so profound it felt like a second, more vicious cancer. I sat in the dark, the city lights of Chicago, a cold, indifferent backdrop, and I wept. Not for my diagnosis, but for the death of the life I thought I had, for the woman I thought I knew. But then, something inside me shifted. The grief curdled into a cold, hard rage. If I was dying, I wouldn't die a fool. I decided to get a second opinion, secretly. I used a burner phone to book an appointment with a renowned oncologist at Northwestern Memorial, under a different name. I paid in cash, told Clara I was going for a walk, a rare burst of energy. The new doctor, a kind, no-nonsense woman, ran her own tests. A week later, she sat me down in her office. She looked at my chart, then at me, her expression baffled. "Mr. Smith," she said, using my alias, "I've reviewed your scans, your blood work. There's nothing here. You're in perfect health. Little stressed maybe, but you do not have cancer." The room spun. It wasn't dying, the entire diagnosis. It was a lie. And then, the final, horrifying piece of the puzzle clicked into place. I remembered the name on the receipt from the hotel. It wasn't in Clara's name. It was charged to a corporate account. The name on the account? Dr. Evans. My doctor, her lover. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had conspired to bury me before I was even dead. They wanted me gone, but they wanted my life insurance policy more. My $1 million policy? They wanted to watch me wither away, believing I was dying, while they celebrated my impending death with champagne in a luxury hotel. That was the moment the old Mark died for good. A new man was born in that office, a man with nothing left to lose and a singular, chilling purpose: revenge. I began to play their game. I was the dying man, weaker by the day. I let Clara help me draft a new will, leaving everything to her, my devoted angel. I let her talk about selling our Lincoln Park brownstone after I was gone. I listened, I nodded, and I recorded. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who had seen it all. He wired my house. He put a tracker on her car. He got me crystal clear photos of Clara and Dr. Evans, kissing in a parking garage, walking into the Elysian holding hands, laughing over dinner at a secluded booth at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse. He even got me financial records, showing large, unexplained cash transfers from Evans to Clara. The trap was set. I arranged a living wake. I told everyone it was my chance to say goodbye. Our house was filled with friends, family, and neighbors, all with somber faces. Clara stood by my side, playing the grieving wife to perfection. I had arranged for a large screen to be set up, ostensibly to show a slideshow of my life. I stood up, leaning heavily on a cane for dramatic effect, and began my speech. I thanked everyone for coming. I thanked my loving, devoted wife, Clara, for her tireless care. Her eyes glistened with fake tears. "You all see a saint," I said, my voice growing stronger. "But I want you all to see the truth." And on that screen, the slideshow began. It wasn't pictures of my childhood. It was a photo of Clara and Dr. Evans kissing. A gasp rippled through the room. Then another photo of them entering the hotel. Then a recording her voice, whispering on the phone, "Don't worry, he won't wake up." I made sure of it. The room was dead silent. Claire's face went from shock to ashen white. Dr. Evans, who was also in attendance, looked like he was about to be sick. I let the audio play recordings of them planning my funeral, laughing about how they'd spend my money. When the presentation ended, I looked directly at Clara. "I don't have cancer," I said, my voice like ice. "But you, my dear, have a problem." At that moment, 2 police officers stepped into the room. My lawyer had already filed a civil suit and presented the evidence of medical fraud and conspiracy to the authorities. Dr. Evans was stripped of his medical license and faced criminal charges. Clara was named as a co-conspirator. Our friends and family stared at her, their pity replaced with utter disgust. She was ruined publicly and legally. She lost everything: the house, the money, her reputation. The divorce was swift. I made sure she got nothing. Sometimes, late at night, I walk past the empty brownstone we once shared. The windows are dark, the life inside extinguished. I didn't die, but I'm not the same man who lived there. I survived, but I wonder what's left of the man I was. The rage has cooled, leaving behind a quiet, desolate peace. They tried to bury me, but they only buried themselves. The end.